Yo, what's going on, guys? And today I'll be doing my best small forwards in this year's NBA draft. So before we start today's video, I want to hear those thoughts down below. If I missed anybody, if you think my rankings are wrong, let me hear those thoughts down below in the comment. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. Let's just get right into this and get jiggy with it. So I'm showing you guys the list right here are my 10 guys, and I want you guys to know the reason why I have asterisks around Scotty Barnes is because he'll also be on my power forward ranking, because he's a guy that he's a forward. I think he's more of a power forward personally, but I know some people would be in the comments going, why didn't you have Scotty Barnes in there? So let's get right into it. Kuminga, best guy, because Kuminga has the potential to be all NBA. 6'7" is what I'm listing him at. I've seen 6'6", and I've also seen 6'8" on some places. I'm going with 6'7". He did decline to be measured at this combine, but he's a guy, yes, he shot 25% from three this past year, and he struggled a bit on defense, but he has all the tools you're looking for in a 7-foot plus wingspan at 6'7", and real athleticism and strength at 210 pounds. He's a guy who averaged 16 points and 7 rebounds in his first professional experience, and he looks like a guy who at least is going to be an all-star. And where do I see his floor? I think his floor is a Wesley Johnson, I want to say Wesley Johnson-esque, Derek Williams-esque players where they have all the physical tools to make it, but they weren't able to put it together, is his floor. If he busts, that's what it's going to be. I doubt it. I doubt that's what it's going to be. But I really think he could be a two-way threat, sort of maybe a better scoring version of, not Karis LeVert. I really think he's just going to be a really good two-way player. I don't want to do any pro comparisons on him just because I don't like doing that. For certain guys that I don't really see an actual thing doing, like Scotty Barnes, Draymond Green is what people are comparing him to. A more athletic Draymond Green is what I've seen the most common comparison, and I personally think he's a Draymond Green Lamar Odom mix because of his point forward ability, being 6'8", 7'2" wingspan, which is he follows his defensive side. I see it's very, very Draymond Green-esque, being able to guard every position 1 through 5. Now on offense, he's a guy who can shoot the ball, he can dribble the ball, he can pass, sort of how Lamar Odom was. And I don't think he'll ever be like a 20 point scorer per game, but I think he could be a high teens and a guy getting a lot of rebounds. Again, why I think Lamar Odom, like last year I said Denny Avdia is a Lamar Odom Hito Turkoglu mix, which I think is a very accurate analysis. Why I think Scotty Barnes is a Draymond Green Lamar Odom mix. More Lamar Odom on offense, while more Draymond Green on defense. I know the third one, people are going to be a little bit like, I don't agree with you, Zero. Moses Moody. I love him. 6'6", 7-foot wingspan. He's a guy that I do believe in this draft could be this draft's Kawhi or Jimmy Butler, Paul George. And when I mean, I'm not saying like Kawhi level type player, but I mean in the vein that they come into the league being really good defensive like prospects who they just need their offensive game to catch up, and then they become one of the better two-way players, maybe second team, third team All NBA. For a guy who might not go in the first top 10 picks, Moses Moody is one of the guys I truly believe has potential to be All NBA. And that's why I have him higher than Franz Wagner and Corey Kispert, who both of those guys could end up being drafted before him. But I think Moses Moody has the better potential, and I think he's a better prospect than they are. And it's also because he's shown he's willing to shoot, take tough shots, even though he had his inefficiencies. That's because he was the go-to guy in college. Now, Franz Wagner, 6'9". Athletically speaking, he's a lot more athletic than you think. He's very laterally quick. He has great off-ball instincts for defense or even on offense, okay? He knows how to guard the perimeter, and he has the size of a power forward, but he's more of a small forward because of his ability to move around and be quick and use his size. And he's a legitimate 40% three-point shooter, though he has the potential to be that, but he is a very streaky guy who I think for the first couple of years might struggle like first year or two, but then he could develop into a high-level shooter who's a very high-level role player. If not, he's just going to be a smaller version of Mo Wagner. Corey Kispert, arguably the most pro ready out of all these prospects. A guy that I think if a contending team has a lottery pick, they should definitely draft him because he can come in, be a 40% 3-point shooter, and he tested a lot more athletically than we were expecting in the NBA Combine. So 53% from the field, 44% from three this past year on 19 points. He's a guy who's going to get you a few steals a game at most, and he's going to be, I think, straight out the gate 14 points. His floor is like Doug McDermott, honestly, and his ceiling, poor man's Klay Thompson, a less athletic Klay Thompson is possible. I'm at 5%, so hopefully this computer doesn't die before, I get to that. So now Jalen Johnson is a guy who probably is one of the best ball handlers and transition players, and he could play the three or the floor. And the thing is his best skill is his passing ability and his defense. He's not a great scorer, and he's not an elite rebounder, but he's going to come in and be, I think, around, you could say, similar player to Kyle Anderson. I really think Kyle Anderson, Justin Anderson, his floor ceiling, not really, but Jalen Johnson could be a really good player who ends up, if his 3-point shot comes around, I don't think he'll ever be the best rebounder, but he could be a guy who is your secondary playmaker and averaging like 14 points a game, maybe hitting like 36% from three. Zaire Williams had a really rough year, and yeah, he showed some flashes. He's a little small for my taste at 185 pounds, 6'7". He's a project. A contending team might snag him at the end of the first round because they see the potential of Zaire Williams being this like two-way guy. I don't see it. I personally don't like it. So, you sit here and you think, I don't know if you heard that massive sigh from my little pit bull. She's right here, my pit bull. She just says, I'm a little tired, Dad. I'm a little tired. But yeah, so I think Zaire Williams, a little project guy, but he has high risk, high reward written on him. He's in the similar vein of Moses Moody. I just like Moody way better. So yeah, there's that. Trey Murphy, love this cat. 20 years old, out of Virginia, 43% from three. Perfect 3-and-D guy. He's a guy who moves really well. He moves sort of like Franz Wagner. Really, I think the difference between him and Franz Wagner is they play like a very similar game, except Trey Murphy was 5'8" in his freshman year of high school, so he still plays sometimes like an actual perimeter player, while Franz Wagner plays like his size. While Trey Murphy, you're like, holy crap, you're a small forward or maybe even a stretch four, but you play like a shooting guard, and that's what I really like about him, and he's awesome. Joe Wieskamp, or is it Wieskamp? I think I spelled that wrong. It's Wieskamp. Sorry if I spelled that wrong, guys. I apologize. That was probably autocorrect. 6'7". He averaged about 15 points a game, 7 rebounds. It was 4th in the league with 3-pointers made per game and 7 defensive rebounds. So he's a guy who was awesome. During the combine, he had a 26.10 rebound performance during the final game. He had a 42-inch vertical with a nearly 7-foot wingspan on a 6'7", 212-pound frame. He has the size, length, and shot-making ability that pros want. It seems like he could be a guy that sneaks into the first round. I really hope he does. Joe's Wieskamp. Someone tell me how to say that correctly, because an Iowa fan was like, I'm so mad how you said that as an Iowa fan. So it doesn't seem like they're having it. Now, 10 was a tough one. An honorable mention. Who's an honorable mention? Because we need to throw an honorable mention at this position because Scotty Barnes isn't technically a small forward. So I'm like sitting here and I'm trying to think. Roku Perkichen's more of a stretch 4. You could argue that he's a small forward. I don't know. Someone tell me. You guys comment down below. Who's the 11th guy? 10th is Brandon Boston. Look, he did shoot 42% from 3 over his last 10 games. He's kind of a guy in the second round. You'll like his creation and shot-making ability for a 6'7" wing who has the potential to be a plus defender, even though he doesn't seem like he has the willingness. So, yeah, that's that right there. Let me find Bleacher. We'll go Bleacher Report. ranking the top 5 browsers. This is kind of like my backup I've been using. Let's go over here. Let's find somebody that we think could be here. Terrence Shannon Jr. is a guy we could throw in there. 6'6". He has the explosive and quickness, and out of Texas Tech, he's a guy people could like. But JavaScript is more of a shooting guard, and I don't know on my shooting guard list. Kessler Edwards is a guy. He's a wing power forward. He is the size of 6'8", perimeter shot making ability, and he's was a 3-year starter at Pepperdine.